As a football fan, sometimes your bias blinds you. Sometimes something can be plain as day and just, As a diehard Penn State fan, I am guilty. I am guilty of letting hatred fuel my decision. I have seen this man destroy my team time and again. I rejoiced in the misery him and Ohio State faced when they lost. I, Philly the family, was a hater. This man may have decommitted from Penn State, may have went 2-0 and 44 of 56 for 506 yards. Who's counting? And 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. But I can't let that sway my decision. Justin Fields is real, and now I hate my life. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe if you are new, but without further ado, whatever.
Everywhere, this is for you.
Yeah. Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season here, really time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast, man. If you have not already, go check the link in the description. There's a link to a membership, man. $1, and you become part of the exclusivity family. You know what I'm saying? For $1, I know you spend $1 on dumber stuff. Go ahead and join that family. So today we are going to talk about Justin Fields. I am not a fan of Justin Fields. I do not like Justin Fields. Don't know the guy. Don't like him. But he might be an Eagle, so I felt that I owed this to you guys to make sure that I give you guys the correct information, right? We got to know who these guys are. So we're going to go over Justin Fields, the 6'3", 228-pound, 5-star prospect out of Harrison High School. He was the number 2 overall quarterback prospect, and he was the top-ranked dual-threat quarterback coming out of high school. Now, he had an interesting journey, right? We'll start at high school. In high school, he also was a highly touted MLB prospect. So that's something to keep your eye on, something to keep your ear on, because you never know. A lot of people were, I don't want to say hating on Russell. There was other things that went into it for him to drop to the 3rd round. But the fact that he could have at any moment became a baseball player was something that I know was on people's minds. So in high school, he threw for 4,187 yards, 41 touchdowns, 2,000 rush yards with 28 touchdowns. Again, in baseball, he played shortstop and second base. So you're seeing the athleticism that this kid brings, and obviously the arm. Second base, not so much, but at shortstop, you gotta have an electric arm to play shortstop. Now let's go through his recruitment. Like I said, he was a 5-star prospect. This is probably why I hate him most, to be honest. But December 1st, 2016, he committed to Penn State. Following that, a couple months later, June 6, 2017, he decommits from Penn State. So that just, right there, I hate you. But then October 6th, he does go where he ends up going to school. He commits to Georgia Bulldogs. His sisters played there. His sisters played softball with him. It was close to home. It was one of those decisions. I'm not too mad at him. It is what it is. He ended up appearing in 12 games. He went 27 for 39, 69.2 percentage on his completion, 328 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 4 rush attempts, 266 yards on those attempts, 4 touchdowns, and he had 1 reception for a negative 10 yards. I always like to bring up their receiving yards because of Nick Foles. So shout out to Nick Foles. He's still keeping it up. He's the best receiving quarterback. Now, Jake Fromm was the quarterback at Georgia at the time, and Jake Fromm did beat Jalen Hurts. He did beat Justin Fields out for the job. Now let's all look at this. So Hurts transferred to Ohio State after he lost the job to Jake Fromm. Burrow, who was at Ohio State, lost the job, went to LSU. So imagine what could have happened if both of those players would have stayed in their respective teams. But now, I said that he left Georgia because he lost the job, but there also was another incident that happened involving one of the UGA baseball players. It was in 2018. A baseball player, I believe his last name was Sasser, I forget his first name. Fromm was doing poorly in a game, and the baseball player yelled, "Put that N-word in." So yeah, that was what ended up giving him the hardship that he was able to then go ahead and transfer and not have to sit out a year. So he did go to Ohio State University. He said that Ryan Day was a big reason and the reason why he chose Ohio State University. He felt that the offense was very good, as we saw it was. So we go to Ohio State. Now, his 2019 season, he goes up there, he puts up 3,000 plus yards, 67% completion percentage, 41 passing touchdowns, 10 touchdowns on the ground. He became the first Big Ten quarterback with 40 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in the same season. He had a 41-3 touchdown interception ratio, which was best in the country that year. Now, I looked at Zach Wilson's competition against good teams, right? We looked at that and we saw that he was kind of underwhelming, right? Yeah, Justin Fields is basically the opposite of that. So we look at the 6 games versus playoff teams. These are teams that ended in the playoff, picture over his career that he's played. He ended up averaging over 280 yards and had a total of 17 touchdowns. No interceptions in those 6 games. The man went off. The man, when the lights were on, when the competition was at its peak, he went crazy. Like I showed you, he went crazy against my Penn State Nittany Lions. Every time he played them, did not lose. It is what it is. So we go back to that his last season. He was third in pass touchdowns at 41, total touchdowns at 51. His passer efficiency was at 181.43, all good for third in the country. He was 11th in completion percentage at 67%. So what do I see in this guy? We'll go over some of the strengths and we'll go over some of the weaknesses. The strengths, man, I mean, the numbers say it for himself. The guy's deadly accurate. He is deadly accurate, so and I'll get into the weaknesses that kind of married to that, but he is. If there's a window, Justin Fields is going to be able to fit it in, and it's incredible sometimes. When you watch him throw the ball, you don't know how he even gets it there. I feel like he gives, even if it's a hard catch, he gives his wide receiver a chance on almost every ball. That is something you cannot, you can't, I mean, you can try and teach that, you can try and coach that, but it's something that you either have or you don't. He has it for sure. He played against great competition. The Big Ten is no sleeper. I know, Penn State kind of was trash these past 2 years. It is what it is. But he played against a solid competition, obviously was in the playoffs. Obviously, we see the bad games, and, we'll get to that. So he's very smart, and he's very dynamic as a runner. So he's not one of those guys that's going to, and he's a big and strong runner as well. So I'll put those together. He's not one of those guys that's going to go out there and try and make something out of absolutely nothing, but he can, right? He's not going to go out there risk the biscuit. He's not going to go out there and do anything too dumb. And you see that in his turnover percentage, So in 2020, all right, I want to go over some of these numbers because this was crazy to me. All right, outside, and these are all percentages of his completion, right? So on throws outside the numbers, so we're talking like out routes, stuff like that, you're looking at 80% completion percentage, 80%, right? 80%. On deep passes, you're looking at 83.3%, 83.3%. 15 of 18 on balls over 30 yards. This guy is accurate, man. This guy is accurate. He's going to make big plays. Now, we go to the short game, right? And this is what is considered his weakness right now. So throws over the middle. So we're talking crossing routes, slant, stuff like that, right? 87.5% completion percentage. That is incredible, guys. That is incredible. On his short throws, 86.4%. I could be a stickler and say probably should be a little bit higher because we're talking swings now. We're talking short routes. So, 86.4 is good. Don't get me wrong, but you probably want to look for something a little bit higher than that. He had one career OSU in OSU. He had one full game that he started that he had no touchdowns, and I believe it was against Northwestern. He had one. The man is going to put up numbers. The man is going to he is going to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. I cannot take that away from him. Last two things I want to say are percentages again. And I just have to reiterate this because it's crazy how accurate and how consistent he is with his accuracy. The man went 5 games of his career, he was under 60%. And only 3 of those games, he was under 55%. So think about that. I mean, he's going to give you 60% isn't the highest number in the world. Don't get me wrong, but his career was around 67. So it just shows you that he's gonna stay around what he is. He was around 65 to 70 for most of the year. Now he had a couple games that he was going crazy. He had 80% here. He had but for the most part, he is what he is. He's very consistent, and that arm is ridiculous. All right. Now let's move on to weaknesses. OSU has some good. They have some underrated wide receivers, to be 100% honest. They were open almost every time. Some of these guys were streaking wide open. And, it is what it is. I hate to hold that against him, but it is what it is. You have to. So he had some easy throws. But again, he put it there. Now, per PFF, he held the ball longer than any other quarterback when blitzed. That's not something you want to see. Obviously, again, in that level of competition, you can get away with some stuff like that on some plays and kind of, hot dogging it on some plays. But in the next level, we've seen it with Carson. You cannot hold on to that ball. Once the play is dead, you need to be able to it's over, get rid of that ball. This is what everybody's going to harp on because this is what's fresh on everybody's mind. Obviously, he struggled against Northwestern and Alabama. I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. He had a rough couple last games. He was 47 of 81, 58% completion, 613 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in his last 3 games. Obviously not what you want. That's obviously not what you want. Against Alabama, I think it was, he was 17 for 133, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 carries for 67 yards. Obviously, it's rough. But if you look at his career when he goes against top teams, top flight teams in the world, Craig, he does his thing, man. So, it happens. It is what it is. Maybe his mind was set elsewhere. It happens sometimes. But I don't think you can really judge him on that. That's my personal opinion. You can't judge him on those 4 games. It happens. He has to work on his internal clock. I said that with the blitzing, with that stat, with the PFF stat, he held the ball long. He needs to work on that. And it's not just with the sacks. It's about timing routes. It's about, he has to work on that, I have 3 seconds, let me get the ball out. Just quick decision making, man. To go with that, he needs to work through his reads a little bit quicker. A lot of times you see him, and it has to do with the level of competition, again, a little bit, because at the end of the day, if your first guy is open, you're going to throw it to your first guy. And a lot of times, his first guy was open. So, you can't fault him. Do you want him to look at every wide receiver just so you can say he did? No, right? You want him to make the play. So it's hard to say that, but you got to say it. It is what it is. I want to see more arm angles. I want to see more anticipation throws. Like I said, he's very good at giving his guys a chance. I just want to see him lead his receivers a little bit more. I want to see those tight window throws. I want to see, the anticipation throws. He's not there yet, but he's going to be. I want to see those type of throws. And then the last thing is, man, he would need a tailored offense. You would, to make an immediate impact, but I think you can say that with everybody. Maybe not Trevor Lawrence, but even him, I think you have to build the offense around him. The NFL is all about scheme. We know that. We've learned that over especially this past year. It's all about scheme. So he's going to need some RPOs. He's going to need some read options. He's going to need a good run game. But damn, what quarterback doesn't? I like this kid. I hate him, but I like him. Hate him, but I like him. Hate him, but he's a great quarterback, man. And I can't sit here and deny, that when you watch him on film, when you look at the numbers, none of it really lies. The only thing that I can really say is maybe you get a little bit nervous about how he's moved so much. Maybe the poor decision making because I don't think he really wanted to go to Georgia. I think he did it because of his friends and his family, it is what it is. But maybe you look at that and say, hey, is this kid gonna make a decision and stick to it? Because, that is something you have to look at. it is what it is. He's a college kid. I hate to say stuff like that because you don't know what you're doing, man. You're a young guy. And, I'm 31 years old. I don't know what the heck I'm doing in life. So for me to really talk junk about him moving from college to college, especially after, the whole UGA baseball incident, especially when you lose your job to Jake Fromm, and that's another thing. Jake Fromm beat him. So, is that something? These are things that you got to keep in mind. Also, he might be a baseball player. Maybe football is not really what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to go play baseball. There's so many little things that you can nitpick at and make this guy seem worse than he is. But realistically, as a Penn State fan, I can say wholeheartedly he has probably become my number 2 quarterback in this draft. So, with that said, I know this is what you guys want to hear. If the Philadelphia Eagles were to go ahead and grab Justin Fields, I would not be mad. I wouldn't. But you guys let me know. What do you guys think about Justin Fields? Who's your number 2 quarterback? Because this is, look, we're probably going to pick a quarterback. Y'all know how it goes. Y'all know how Howie is, and y'all know how this organization gets down. So we might end up picking a quarterback. So I'm trying to get y'all prepared. How do y'all feel about Justin Fields? Who's your number 2? Who's your number 1? Maybe it's not Trevor Lawrence. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly, Eagles Flying, and we are out here. Peace!